The Gooner on the underlap. He makes a lot of YouTube videos, but can he affect this game? No. Keeper! No! Oh, you have to sign him. Smash the like button and then please. You know, standard procedures, time free indoors. So smash the like button. One love, fix one. Push. Like.
There's always just that active red line defending. I think like there's always just that active red line defending. I think like
people deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. Thank you very much for that assist, Ian Wright. I could take it from here. People deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, in some cases, good night. One love if you're on Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube. Make sure you're following on all platforms. You're hitting the like button, you're commenting, you're subscribing, you're doing what you can for the algorithm. Now, I thought we would primarily, so I can say that correctly. I don't know, that sounded a bit weird, but nonetheless, I thought we'd have been sat here. We're going to speak about Arsenal, Sevilla, primarily speak about, you know, should it be Trossard, Martinelli, and Saka? Maybe someone would have said Eddie and Nketiah. It's never a dull day where Arsenal fans are concerned. Thomas Partey is out for the rest of the year, despite the fact that he was available for 40 games last season in all comps and 33 in the league. When you say the name Thomas Partey, you think of injury. So I can't say anybody's surprised. For me, it's more frustration because it's the knock-on effect. I accept Partey for what he is, but you've either got, you know, a couple of options. You cry about this and you do nothing. You sign central midfielders so that in the same way we miss Partey, but we don't miss not having a number 6 because Declan Rice is there or he's in midfield doing something. Yeah, man, really. And obviously with Partey and his contract and his wages and the injuries and his age, this is probably someone that could still be a vital player for Arsenal in some capacity when he's back this season and next season. But I've always said I believe it's a chance to probably free up wages, really. You look at the last 2 seasons, we spent a lot. Who have we really sold? Now, I don't really care about that. I'm a football fan and I'm not trying to praise or critique the club, but it's a business at some level. You know, we have got a couple of loan fees. We did sell Balogun, but with the outlay of new contracts and also actually big money additions, I did think in the summer, and again, we need to sign certain players, people, but you'd imagine Smith Rowe could be someone that could be sold. Ramsdale could be someone that could bring decent money. The opportunity with a year left on his deal to say, you know what, we've had Partey for a couple of years. We can get his, I guess, 150, close to 200 bags a week off the wage bill and keep it moving, really and truly. Now, Arteta signed up for this, fair enough. The manager may, or, you know, we don't know what any club, we know what every club signed, but we don't know the players that any club may or may didn't. So maybe Arsenal legitimately did go for another central midfielder. But, you know, I did think we needed one in the summer. Technically, I did say we needed 2. Technically, we brought 2 in, or 2.5. You know, you've got Declan Rice and you've got Kai Havertz to some capacity. It is what it is, really. I mean, if the allegations surrounding Thomas Partey are true, then I think I speak for any normal person. We don't condone that. And for that reason alone, he shouldn't be at the football club. Shout out American Gunner as well and everybody else tuned in. So there's no point wasting any time, man. We've got a lot to go through, people. As I said, hit the like button. Any comments that you lot have, share them. You lot make this platform for what it is. Obviously, Saturday, we're watching Arsenal Burnley as well, folks. Tomorrow I'll be recording with the different knocks. So again, if you follow me on YouTube, go on my YouTube community tab. I've asked you lot any questions you would like me to ask or topics you would like us to go over and things like that. You have until 9 a.m. UK time tomorrow. Obviously, it's 10 to 7 p.m. in the United Kingdom at this moment. So yeah, if you're watching this on a replay, head over there. But yeah, man, let's crack on with the latest news, views, talking points, and all of that jazz. Arsenal suffer new Thomas Partey setback as Mikel Arteta weighs up transfer replacement. To be fair, bro, regardless of Thomas Partey or Xhaka in central midfield in the summer, should have been signing people. January, we should be signing a midfielder anyways. I know the talk is around not Thomas Partey, sorry, Ivan Toney, and there was Pedro Neto. So let's say a winger and a striker. They are 2 big priorities and of equal importance. But I just feel I would like another striker. Ultimately, there's times where we need a goal scorer. You know, while I think Trossard needs to get a run in that role now, I don't know if that's going to provide longevity. Havertz can do a job there. Don't know how much that provides. Eddie Toney can do a job. Whether he can do it to the standard we require is another thing. And I love Gabriel Jesus, but he doesn't score goals. So ultimately, we need a striker. We would like another winger. Like yesterday, anytime Saka has to come off or he's hobbling, we're either begging Mikel Arteta to take him off, or we wish we could save his legs at sometimes. So those are two big positions. But, you know, if Saka isn't there and Jesus isn't there, I'm not saying that, you know, the replacements are good enough, but we have somewhat of enough to cope in midfield. God forbid if something happens to Declan Rice, his peak. Shout out to Jorginho because he's doing his thing, but he doesn't provide any longevity. And we know every game provides a different talking point with Jorginho. I think El Nene's got a role definitely for this season and definitely in light with what we're speaking about. But that's another one. The only one out of the actual central midfielders, and I sound like a broken record, is Declan Rice, really. You know, Lokonga, myth. And to be honest, we need to be smacking up Burnley on Saturday just because your company absolutely had a blinder on us. He told us Lokonga's the next Yaya Toure. Must have been Yaya Toure when he just popped out his mum's room because it couldn't have been him when he's able to play football. But nonetheless, we suffered a new Thomas Partey setback. I don't quite believe this. I think internally, Arsenal, this isn't news. This is news to us, but they've probably known this is what's happening. Thomas Partey has delivered a major new injury blow for Arsenal. Partey has undergone a specialist procedure for treatment on a thigh injury and is now set to miss the rest of 2023. So 2 months, really. And obviously, if he is back fit, is he going to race back to be fit to go off to play for Ghana at the international tournament in January? Which, you know, you should never turn down your country, in my opinion. But then we ain't got you for whatever we've got till January. And, you know, we've got to play Liverpool on the 23rd of December. Declan Rice, make sure you're fit. Jesus, make sure you get fit. No one else get injured, because I would have loved to have Partey as an option for Arteta. It wasn't to be, really and truly. Apparently, this is a huge setback for Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta, who is still uncertain of Partey's exact return date, and that may tempt him to move into the market for midfield cover. Partey, 30, has been wearing a leg brace to try and bolster his recovery, but the latest setback means his absence will be even longer than first expected. There's also the added complication of the Africa Cup of Nations in January, because Ghana will want him to report up, but his participation looks in serious doubt. Partey has managed to start just 3 Premier League games this season because of injury issues, and has already missed a huge chunk of the campaign because of a groin problem. So maybe just breaking down, really. But almost as soon as Partey was fit again and in contention, the powerful midfielder then broke down in training before last month's Champions League trip to Sevilla. Arteta admitted that Partey would be out for weeks, but after seeing specialists, the layoff has been even worse. Partey was linked with a move last summer with Juventus interested, and Saudi clubs were also keen on the former Atletico midfielder. Arsenal did not receive a concrete bid for the player. So again, for all the talk, there wasn't a concrete bid, so Arsenal couldn't really do anything. And therefore, he stayed at the Emirates, which meant the club were not able to pursue another midfielder. We spent 65 million on another midfielder to bolster the squad. Arteta has been short of midfield options without him this term, and Jorginho has been a regular in recent games to partner Declan Rice, but they would be keen to have another anchor man. I mean, anyone that's been following my content, I've been very passionate about our need for a central midfielder. I do an Arteta were midfielder. So in the same way I praise you for the signings you've made, for the systems you've implemented, for the strength in depth of the squad, I have to ask questions as to what's going on, really and truly. Shout out Matt K and Terry as usual. So yeah, it's peak for Thomas Partey. Apparently, Arsenal will consider signing a midfielder in January after Thomas Partey's injury blow, but will be on a tight budget after a near 200 million summer splurge. So maybe we need a cash injection, really. He's been a concern for a while. We need to get reinforcements in January and a striker if possible. I think all efforts have to be focused on a central midfielder. For me, if you're able to get a striker or a winger, fair enough. And anything can happen in January, but maybe it's going to be somewhat the Kyrgios, Jorginho, and Trossard signings, not to belittle them. Trossard's a revelation. Jorginho's brought something, and Kyrgios coming into his own. I just can't see us spending whatever Brentford want for Ivan Toney. Pedro Neto's injured, so that one's probably gone quiet. But that, even we've been linked with Aston Villa's Douglas Luiz. He signed a new deal last year. They're going to play hardball, especially with what they're doing in the season. No one wants to break up their team, really and truly. You know, again, heading into the January period, you know, Partey prior to this, Thomas Partey, Jorginho, Aaron Ramsdale, a couple of players were linked with moves away. And I've always said I wouldn't advocate none of it. If you bring in replacements, then that's another debate and conversation to have. But for me, I wouldn't do it, because you're tearing up the squad midway through the season, which I don't think you can afford to do, really. Whoever wants to leave, if we get made an offer that we can't refuse, of course, do what needs to be done. But anyone that wants to leave the club or depart, deal with that in the summer. For now, you're staying. Apparently, the Gunners had been expected to seek a new forward in the next window, with Brentford striker Ivan Toney the club's priority target. But there are major concerns that Partey will miss a significant chunk of the season. Mailsport understands the Ghana international has undergone a minor treatment procedure as he continues to recover from a thigh injury. Once again, he's been in a leg brace, and obviously the knock-on effect is that we're going to have to move in the market now, and he is expected to miss what is left of this year, people. Ivan Toney had been seen as a priority, but it's unclear if Partey will be back in Jan. Conflicting reports, because Ornstein and them guys there do say that a striker is going to be our next big ticket option, but I can't see us spending what they want for Ivan Toney in the summer. I mean, in January, because in the summer his price tag will probably drop. You've got more options, and then obviously Brentford are probably more likely to do business because they've known probably for a while now he's wants to keep it moving, so something needs to be done. The Gunners do not have big money to spend in January after their near 200 million splurge on Declan Rice, Kai Havertz and Timber, and will need to operate to a tight budget to ensure they're still within FFP guidelines. I think there's an element of truth there, but nobody knows what Arsenal have and haven't got to spend, and obviously there's creative accounting. As we know, Raya is expected to join us permanently for 30 million next summer. Arsenal are ready to put their move for a striker on hold until the end of the season, and are concrete on signing a new midfielder to ease the workload on Declan Rice and Jorginho in the absence of Partey. The Gunners could look to sell to supplement their limited budget in Jan, but who? Because of course, you know, there's every logic with a couple of players. You can't even let Smith Rowe go now. You can, if you know, I'm not against him going on loan, but you need people that are able to play in midfield. Selling Aaron Ramsdale in January, if you're presented with an offer, fair enough, but it doesn't make sense. God forbid, if something happens to Raya, you're in trouble, you know. And I actually can't remember. We played Brentford twice. I don't think so, but Raya can't play those 2 games. So you're going to need Ramsdale, you know. Does anyone want to see Carl Heinen go? So it doesn't really make sense. And you go through the squad, the players that would bring in significant value, we don't want to sell Saka, Martinelli, Saliba, and these guys. So it's not really that. And half the players that are out the door, they're all on loans. Like, we're going to have to deal with Kieran Tierney, Lokonga, and them kind of Tavares and them kind of players in the summer. I mean, if anyone wants Cedric, fair enough, man. Shot Smith Rowe in the summer and look at getting Wirtz. I would love to sign Wirtz from Leverkusen. I just think we'll get priced out. Midfield is definitely top of the list because we get goals from various different positions. Adding Toney and Jan would be great, but his match sharpness is going to be an issue. Exactly, even that, really. And you'd have to give him time to get up to speed. You don't feel Douglas Luiz is a good option? Harsh, man. I think Douglas Luiz would be calm. I don't think it's one that's going to make me think, wow, you know, we're definitely stronger in going for the title, but he's Premier League proven. Edu and Arteta have liked him for a while. You know, obviously Edu's worked with Brazil. Arteta's been at City. I wouldn't be against it, but for Douglas Luiz, you're going to have to spend half of these players, you know. Fair enough. If a player's made it clear he wants to leave, he's been alienated, his contract is running down, that's where you get the deals. But in January, you need to pay an inconvenience fee. Signed a new deal at Aston Villa. Aston Villa are flying with their season. Obviously, they want a strong squad to do what they're doing. So whether it's Pedro Neto, Ivan Toney, Douglas Luiz, these guys, it's going to come with a premium, really. So I do think, in theory, you could get a striker, you could get a winger, you could get a centre mid, but it might not be these quote-unquote household names. I would love to bring Zubimendi to the carpet. Me and you, Moondust, have been very passionate about him, but I can't smash the like button if you're on YouTube, but I can't see it happening in January. Sociedad, you know, them Spanish players that come through academies, they're quite loyal. He rejected us last Jan. They're still in the Champions League. Of course, anything can change, but yeah, I would, Shah, you're not alone. I wouldn't mind. I would love Barella and De Jong, but again, you're talking big bucks. I wouldn't mind Goretzka again, but we're talking big money, really and truly. So we'll have to see with Thomas Partey, man. Apparently, the Premier League's key match incidences panel, which includes 3 former players / and/or coaches, has concluded there was insufficient evidence to overrule the on-field decision to award Anthony Gordon's goal. However, the panel concluded Kai Havertz and Bruno Gomares should have been sent off. If Bruno Gomares, I think Kai should have went, but if Bruno Gomares wasn't sent off for that elbow, bro, my man's committed like 20 million fouls, really. How him and Kovacic have got away when they've played us, crazy. The inconvenience tax could be a madness. Like, if you pay more than what Toney's worth, you know, or more than what Neto's worth, or Zubimendi or Douglas Luiz, and we do what we need to do this season, nobody cares. But from a business point of view, it probably doesn't make sense. You know, as great as Declan Rice is, logically, would we wanted to smash our transfer record and at a time have the British transfer record if we could? No, but it comes with the cost, really. But I hope that we've been scouting, really. DG, do you know anything about the Andre guy from Brazil been linked with Liverpool and Arsenal? He seems to be linked with Fulham. Decent little player from what I can see. And, you know, them rumours there are probably going to ramp up. Apparently, he's got a 30 to 40 million euros clause that they're saying let him go. Or not really clause, that's their asking price. You can't imagine that's going to break the balance. And if we have scouted him and we have done our due diligence and we really do believe he can bring something to the table, he needs to get done. But logically speaking, whether we're going for household names in midfield or we're going for lesser known entities, as we've just alluded, January, you got to pay an inconvenience tax. Think about it logically. If you lot are Arsenal and I've got a centre mid, whatever profile, I've got them. You wish to buy them from my club. Naturally, if I've got my eyes and ears open, I'm going to be like, Jorginho, contract, old and that. El Nene's been out for 10 months, just spent a lot of money on Declan Rice and Havertz. Havertz ain't really doing nothing. So I know you've got money, plus this Partey thing. I know you've got money. The asking price might have been 10 million, for example. Now I want 20. And that's where he's also going to do it. So Edu and Arteta, as Arteta said, they're going to have to be creative. Locatelli is a good option, but don't think he'd leave Juventus. I mean, we was linked with him before he did us dirty like Vlahovic, so that's probably case shut. And didn't he sign a new deal? I mean, I'm sure Havertz, the law of returning to Germany be good, but you know, if you're buying Leverkusen, you probably just want straight cash for Wirtz. And again, Wirtz ain't going to leave mid-season. You know, he's doing well. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Is the Euros not in his own country? He's done well to come back from an ACL injury as well. Like they're just going to want to sell to the highest bidder, in it. Quality player. But yeah, there's that. Keep your thoughts coming, people. We've gone over this. Premier League panels talking nonsense. Look at Jamie Carragher talking nonsense. And when you saw what happened to Man Divide, they're all changing their opinions. Apparently, Mikel Arteta, this was before this Partey news came out, but nonetheless, Mikel Arteta is ready to sell 4 Arsenal stars in January to fund Ivan Toney transfer from Brentford. Things have changed, but nonetheless, Arsenal are reportedly prepared to sell 4 players in order to fund a January transfer move for Ivan Toney. The Brentford striker will return to action this winter after completing his ban for breaching FA betting rules. Toney is raring to go after netting 20 goals last season. Arsenal are thought to be leading the race for his signature ahead of rivals Chelsea and Man United. But again, with Partey's injury, is there a spanner in the works, people? And we're hamstrung by FFP allegedly. But, you know, we can get around that. Where there's a will, there's a way. We won't be the first or the last team. Big up Top Blue. So we'll have to see. It means Arsenal have to sell before they can launch a bid for Ivan Toney, who is rated at 100 million. I think that's just January. They know they're not getting 100 million. He's got 18 months left on his deal. He's going to have 12 from next summer, really and truly. So you're going to have to sell, really. Apparently, Arteta is reportedly ready to sell 4 players. Partey, you're not getting no money for you because the man can't stay fit. You're not getting sold in January. Ramsdale, it does not make sense to let you go in January, if I'm honest with you. Smith Rowe and Eddie Nketiah, a bit like Reece Nelson. The more we move forward as a football club and we bring in better players, they could be done for. But if, for example, we only have a budget for a central midfielder, then that kills the Ivan Toney in January idea, and that means that Eddie Nketiah has to stay, which makes this redundant. Indirectly with Thomas Partey, and depending what we do, and at this moment in time, we're still in 3 competitions. It doesn't really make sense to sell Smith Rowe or loan out Smith Rowe. You know, in my world, you know, if we had a fit Thomas Partey, a Declan Rice, and 2 other midfielders that could all line up behind Odegaard and all the false 8s in the world, then there might be a reality where I could say, you know what, let Smith Rowe go. So it doesn't really make sense. I think this is just a bit of creative journalism. Can't rule it out because half of these players have all been linked with moves away. But yeah, it is what it is, people. It is what it is. Eddie Nketiah netted 4 times in 30 games and has a further 5 to his name this term. Big up Eddie Nketiah. Mikel ready to go all in on 42 million double Arsenal deal that will leave rivals reeling. What is this? What double deal is this? Sasha Boy and Ivan Toney. Big up Sasha Boy and Ivan Toney. Sasha Boy, I don't really believe this, but for what it's worth, apparently he's been linked with Arsenal and Man United. Apparently, he's available for 25 million euros, in brackets 21.7 million pounds. These clubs also contacted Galatasaray. There were opportunities for me to go to the Premier League. I had contacts with various clubs. There were some meetings between Galatasaray's administrators and Arsenal officials. There was interest, but there was no official offer. So what happened there? We've also been linked with Lloyd Kelly of Bournemouth, people. He's also been linked with AC Milan, people. His contract is up at the end of the season, and at 25 years of age, being British and being a decent fullback, I don't think he's anything to write home about. Quite pessimistic on him, but there's got to be a reason AC Milan, Liverpool, Newcastle, Juventus, Arsenal, and Tottenham Hotspur allegedly are all interested, people. So we'll have to see in that regards. Apparently, Newcastle already preparing an offer for 60 million euro plus for Juventus winger Chiesa, although Chelsea and Arsenal are always in the mix. also in the mix. Would love him, but myth. F. Ivan Toney, Vlahovic all day. DG, I can't lie. Don't mind if we shot Nelson in the summer as well. Even Nelson's another one that could get shotted. You know, them Halem boys, apart from Saka, I don't want you to go, but it's in the balance, really. You know, Smith Rowe is one of the first names on the team sheet. The past is not the future. You know, Eddie, you show you can do a job, but yeah, Vlahovic owes us an apology 100%. I would love Fofana from Monaco. Could be decent for the squad, really, and isn't his contract running out? So maybe you can take advantage of certain clubs' contractual situations. Players got a foot out the door. Who knows, man? I personally think we should have bought Kovacic and not the guy we did buy from Chelsea. I must admit, I'm getting very bored of this Ivan Toney stuff, but I do this for you lot, people. This article spoke about him, what he's been doing after the ban, what his future may hold. I skipped to the I've lost it now, silly, but I tried to find the bulk of it, people, what actually matters to us. Apparently, yeah, here it is. And we got a bit to read. His deal will only have 18 months left to run in January, and the possibility of a contract extension has been raised, but Toney wants to play for a top club, and his next contract will probably be the biggest of his career, which is why he's probably got new agents as well. Brentford have one of the lowest wage bills in the division, and their highest paid players earn around 50 to 60 grand a week. Must be nice, isn't it? Toney could easily double that at another club. The club will keep trying to convince him to stay long-term, though, even if it's unlikely to happen. Brentford's plan is to hold on to their star striker for the rest of the season. Wissa and Mbuemo will represent, you know, their countries at the Africa Cup of Nations. And that's a point that I actually wasn't privy to until, it sounds silly, but now. So maybe they're betting on Ivan Toney. You'd imagine they'd have to move in the market for someone as well. Naturally, they'd be short of options. So you'd have to see in that regards. You know, obviously, Thomas Frank has spoken on him and said, I hope not. I want him to stay. Ivan is happy to stay. He's happy at the club. Whatever happens in the future is impossible. I'm pretty sure I didn't give an exact number. What I said was the number 6 positions have been sold for 100 million plus this summer, which is rare. It's normally goal scorers who get those numbers. To have a proven goal scorer in the Premier League that is above 20 goals is very valuable. It's not for me to put a price tag on him. It's down to the club. I'm happy with him. I hope he plays here forever. And I'm the coach. I mean, can't disagree with that. What did Ben White actually do to Southgate? She must have moved to his wife or something, because clearly, smash the like button, people. It is not footballing reasons as to why Benjamin White isn't there. As much as I, you know, feel sorry for Benjamin White that he's not there with Declan Rice and Ramsdale and Saka, and, you know, Eddie Nketiah isn't someone I would suggest is going to the Euros, but based on his form led to the call-up, unfortunate he's not fit and not able to be there if it wasn't for ability. But selfishly, you know, when we talk about players at our club needing rest, and we're not wrong, it's not that we don't talk about Benjamin White, but people forget Benjamin White has had to play a lot of him and Saliba. I'd love a world where we have another defensive body so that in these cup games at times, and we don't drop off a level, Saliba can come out, Benjamin White can come out. So from a selfish Arsenal point of view, Benjamin White gets a week off or something, really. We got a 25-man squad. Who leaves and more who buys them? This is the thing, really and truly. This is why January, I don't know. I think it's just a case of incomings, if I'm honest with you. They sent scouts to the Sociedad game again. I mean, I'm happy to hear that, but just because we're sending scouts, we don't know who the players are looking at, and it could just be sending different scouts. For instance, if 5 of us are all scouts, I come with one player and I say they're good. Naturally, a club is going to say, you know what, you 4 man or women, you go and watch the player. I might think he's the best thing since sliced bread. You might think he's terrible, or I might not pick up on the strength of weakness that he has. And we're just building up a case study on the individual. So scouting doesn't always mean moving for a player, really, but it kind of does. Arteta don't like ballers with bad attitude. Toney is not coming. He's boosting up the price for Chelsea. Dark arts at his finest. I hear that. Bit harsh, though. How is Ivan Toney? I'm not saying you're wrong, because I don't know Ivan Toney from nowhere and whatnot. And some of the things he's done at Brentford would frustrate me, like when he's saying F the football club and he's flirting with Arsenal and Liverpool in that podcast he was doing. But where has he got bad attitude? He's made a mistake. He's done the betting thing, cool. But like, what's the bad attitude? What evidence do we have to suggest he's got a bad attitude? It's 6, man. But like the Spanishy kind of 6. Benjamin White is a great long passer when playing centre-back, but I don't fully trust him defensively. I hear that. I'd go for a marquee signing left 8 in the summer. The key would be who, but again, for me, if you could bring me another 6, like more, because we bought Declan Rice, who by his own admission said he's more comfortable as a 6. I just want another 6 in it, just to be a bit more comfortable in games. And I agree with you. At 8, I want 2 central midfield signings. Like Edu and Arteta, you lot were midfielders, and whatever you say about our defenders, we've got some good options there. Whatever you say about our attackers, we've got some good options there in midfield. I don't think El Nene is a bad player. I don't think Jorginho's a bad player. I don't think Thomas Partey is a bad player. But they do leave you a bit weary. Lokonga's not a part of us this season, but he's not good enough. Fabio Vieira and all these guys can play false eights, but they're not pure centre mids. Once again, Declan Rice is the only one that you're sitting there and going, you're the guy. DG, I can't lie. I think Sesko or Vlahovic are the only realistic options, both young, and even Sesko has been playing much at Leipzig. And that's the thing, like, you know, where you look at Ivan Ferguson and Sesko and these guys, are they ready to impact Arsenal from the moment they sign for the club? I don't know. But bring them. But to be fair, hasn't Sesko just basically I can't pronounce his name. Hasn't he just got his feet wet at his new club? So that's that's looking like a summer thing. You never know in life. For what it's worth, you know, Ivan Toney has said from young, I always liked watching Arsenal, how they play and how passionate the fans are, and we're always getting at you on socials. So I have to see. Again, you know, the Daily Mail, the Mirror, and the Athletic have all kind of correlated the same thing, allegedly, in that Arsenal would need to sell big in January to finance a move for Toney, or hope the owners advance them another substantial loan. There's a good relationship between senior figures at Arsenal and Brentford, but it's unlikely they would be able to agree a similar arrangement for Toney like they did with Raya. Arsenal might have to wait until next summer and hope he's still on the market. A move to Brentford's West London neighbours, Chelsea, is another option. They're considering Toney, but he turns 28 in March, and it would go against their strategy of targeting players 25 and under. So I have to see. And apparently, you know, Chelsea also have Osimhen on their radar. So I don't know if they'll be able to attain Osimhen in January. I mean, Chelsea will give the blank check, but logically speaking, like, would you rather go after Toney in January, or sign Toney in January, or wait till the summer and sign Osimhen? Personally, I'd rather sign Osimhen, if I'm honest. But Toney is Premier League proven and all of that stuff, man. Ben Wizzy changing his national team to Spain. He don't watch football, so it's all good, man. Take the time off. Kai Havertz has been linked with a move to Real Madrid, people. Apparently, Edu's offered Kai Havertz to Madrid. Let me humour you lot, innit? According to report in Spain, Edu has already grown tired by what he has seen so far of Havertz and has been in touch with Real Madrid to see if they still might be interested in his signing. They're not going to take his wages. They're not going to give us anything close to what we paid. I don't believe Edu and Arteta, even if fans are frustrated, you know, they didn't just wake up one day, whether this works or not, and said sign him. So they probably knew, probably not to this level, but there'd be a struggle. Don't really buy that. Off topic, but is the new FM worth buying? Yes, the new Football Manager is worth buying, but boy, if you've been following my streams on Twitch, I would say no. If you don't play Football Manager, don't start in it. It's such a frustrating game. Apparently, Vlahovic is still Mikel Arteta's preferred number one target for Arsenal. Vlahovic remains Mikel Arteta's preferred option for the number 9 position. Football Transfers has been told. Again, take all of this with a pinch of salt, people. The Arsenal boss is a long-term admirer of the Serb and wanted to sign him in the previous transfer windows. In January 2022, the then Fiorentina man rejected the Gunners to stay in Italy and sign for Juventus in a deal worth more than 80 million euros instead. Despite this, Mikel Arteta remains a big fan and would jump at the chance to sign him if the opportunity presented itself. Again, well-placed sources have informed Football Transfers. Vlahovic was Arteta's main target to lead the North London clubs of the front line before the summer 2022 signing of Gabriel Jesus, and that hasn't changed. Jesus has no doubt been a great signing for the Gunners, but his repeated fitness issues and his lack of end product in the Premier League this season are cause for concern. At 23, Vlahovic fits the age profile of players Arsenal are looking at, and it's believed the Serb could be a cheaper option than some of the other names linked with Premier League side in recent times, such as Osimhen or Ivan Toney. Unpopular opinion, yeah. I would have taken the youth at Man United, you know, Poisoning. I think he would have, that sort of profile is what I want. And I think if we signed him and Jesus would coexist quite well, man. What happened to Buendia? I remember people were saying he's better than Odegaard. Isn't he injured? But he's at Aston Villa. I don't know if he's playing on a regular basis. But yeah, man. Man said allow. Madrid, you know, that's some Football Manager stuff. What about a number 10 position? Sometimes it seems like Odegaard doesn't have ideas to break defenses. A creative midfielder is just as important. The build continues. I mean, yeah, but there's not really 10s per se. Like even Odegaard, he's a 10 to me, and he plays in front of the strikers. I mean, in front of the centre mids, but he's like an 8.5, really and truly. So I think that goes back to what F was saying about more so targeting a left-sided 8, or basically what you're saying. For me, a centre mid whose strengths are breaking up play and one that's strengths are connecting play. Did we get an update on Odegaard? I mean, in the post-game comments, Mikel Arteta said that, you know, they're still racing to stay fit, get back to fitness. Me personally, I'd love to wake up and he plays against Burnley. I personally believe, you know, you hope to have him and maybe Jesus back after this international break. If you haven't smashed the like button, make sure you're doing such. 2-3, big up yourself for being a member for 35 months. You've been here for the long run, my guy. But yeah, Vlahovic, it hasn't really worked out at Juventus. Juventus's financial situation is quite delicate. He's always going to get linked with us, but I mean, if you could bring him. I'm having him. But, you know, Vlahovic, Ivan Toney, Pedro Neto, I'm very pessimistic on these signings. I was pessimistic about signing Mesut Ozil, Aubameyang, and Alexis. So maybe that's a good omen, people. But there you have it. Apparently, Juventus tried to offer Vlahovic to Chelsea in a swap deal with Lukaku in the summer. Why would you want Lukaku? Fair enough. We've been linked with Ferdi Kadioglu again, a Dutch/Turkish fullback people at Fenerbahce. I think he can cover both positions. He can play left back and right back, allegedly, to what you read. So I want another versatile defender. But if Arsenal are able to get it done. But don't know too much about him to really comment. Allegedly, Partey has told Arsenal he wants to leave the club in January, which with his injury now, that makes that a myth, people. In terms of Gabriel Jesus, let's see how it goes in the next few days. I know Gabby is always very excited to play for the national team. He loves it, and the history he's had lately when he has recovered his place, for sure, he doesn't want to miss. Let's see how he is medically, and see what decision is made. So don't know when Jesus is back. Apparently, David Raya's agent has been speaking. He said Arsenal showed interest for the first time 3 years ago in 2021. They tried to buy him, but Brentford didn't want to sell him at any price. After they bought Ramsdale, that was an easier option, but David has always been the priority. So does that tell you that Raya has always been the first choice target and the first choice goalkeeper to play? So that probably indirectly tells you who's number one. This summer, he had just 1 year left on his contract with Brentford, and Arsenal was the club that showed the most concrete interest and has always been our priority. Spurs were also interested and made an official bid, but it was refused because it was lower than the 40 million euros that Brentford wanted to sell him. But we got him for an option of 30. Also, Bayern Munich was interested and had an amazing offer, but with no buy option included. And for this, we've not accepted it. Bayern didn't understand our refusal because they thought that Raya would have been the backup keeper at Arsenal. But as you can see, it's not like this. Also, Manchester United and Chelsea made an inquiry, but nothing concrete. And then apparently, yes, it's true. He loves Arsenal. Everything is going extremely well. And he has been welcomed really, really well by everyone. He's a great professional, a really nice guy. And he's adapted really well to the team. On his goals and ambitions, he's a really ambitious guy. Every season, he sets big goals, trying to achieve it season per season. The goal was to play the Champions League and with Spain. His goal now is to play well at Arsenal and to consolidate himself as one of the best goalkeepers in the league and be a starter for Spain. David's dream was to play in one of the big 6 clubs in the Premier League. Now he wants to win the Champions League and the World Cup. He then said the formula of the deal is a loan with a buy option. Arsenal had some financial fair play issues, and this is the reason why they haven't bought him with a permanent transfer. Arsenal is a team with a lot of quality and a lot of young players trained by a top coach, Mikel Arteta. He's also Spanish. They have maximum ambition. I mean, you couldn't say that with Spurs. Big up Postecoglou, though. Arsenal have a clear identity and a clear style of play that really works, as you can see by the results. Last year, they were close to winning the Premier League. I believe that this year they can win it. Let's take it game by game and try to win the Champions League. It's tough, but they have the quality and the ambition to try to do it. We definitely got the ambition. Ability, I don't know. Inaki and Mikel were key for the deal. They've been determined for the choice that we made to play for Arsenal, and the club have a project and philosophy that fit completely for David. So there you have that. Odegaard is likely to miss international duty with Norway, says John Cross, people of the Mirror. Bayern Munich will rival Arsenal in their pursuit of 24-year-old midfielder Zubamendi from Sociedad. Zubamendi is currently being discussed at Bayern Munich. The club scouts have recently watched him closely and gave positive feedback. A move for the Spaniard, however, is not concrete yet. No talks have taken place with Zubamendi's management or Sociedad. The midfielder has a £60 million release clause, but his club is hoping he'd stay at least until the end of the season. I don't think they're alone with that. Once again, an Arsenal scout was seen watching Fenerbahce versus Trabzonspor to run the rule over Ferdi Kadioglu. Again, forgive me for mispronunciations. Completely off topic, people. Vote for the guy on the football blacklist. Let's try and continue getting nominations on this DG empire that we have building. Again, use my email, which is dgnation, which is like Tion with 2 O's. You can see it there. And one love in advance. Don't forget, on Saturday, people, it's watch along settings. Smash the like button and turn on your notifications on such. We will be live from 2 p.m. because we kick off at 3. And I dropped a video for you lot earlier, people, where I tactically went over the Sevilla game. So yeah, take that all in relation to everything we've got to discuss here. We've gone through it really and truly, man. Hear that, man. Buying interested, welcome to Arsenal. Zubamendi, by God's grace, man, but brazy. Vlahovic, our way, Partey their way. I hear that, but I can't see it happening though, man. By the way, that boy kid is not bad. Was skeptical when we were first linked, but he's impressed me in the Champions League group stages. I want all the best players. If he's versatile and he can do it, fair enough. Vlahovic has a higher upside than Toney. Not convinced by Toney, to be honest. I'm convinced by Toney. I'm having it. You know, I'm having it. He's 28. He's ready to go. I agree with what you're saying. Vlahovic is 23, 24. There's higher upside, more time for Mikel Arteta to get a tune out of him. And there's more resale value, really. You know, in an ideal world, Toney wouldn't be, and it's not to mock him, a 50-odd million pound player. Shout out yourself, Carl. Yo, hope you're well, bro. Long time no see. Lovely to have you back. I want Arsenal to go and get a proper midfielder. I'd love to see them chuck the house at Toney and Tchouaméni. I'd love Tchouaméni, but it seems like paper talk, man. I don't really get involved in that. There's plenty of players I would love, man. DG, write your email in that chat, G. Okay, one sec. Here you have it. Yeah. Yeah. Resale value at Arsenal is a myth, anyways. It's true, but you know, Odegaard signed a new deal and he was signed for 30-odd million quid. Saliba signed for about 30-odd million quid, new deal. How much is he worth? Saka, if that day ever comes, how much we getting for him? Martinelli, how much we getting for him? Obviously, our ability to negotiate is another thing. To be fair, obviously he's on big wages, but Nelson and Eddie, you might be able to get something. Smith Rowe, you might be able to. Ramsdale, there might be a profit. I hope times can change, really. And to be fair, based on last summer, we haven't sold too many players for great value. But Balogun, whether it was good or not, or the right decision, he's played 10 times for Arsenal Football Club. He was sold for a decent fee. And in recent years, we haven't sold too many players for anything to write home about. But Balogun, Willock, Iwobi, it shows that, you know, the academy is producing 1-2 players. Partey and Nelson to Juventus for Vlahovic plus cash. Assuming they both want to go over there. I don't know if Nelson would want to go over there, really. Imagine having a killer gunman with Martinelli and Saka on smoke like they were last night. I would love for it, you know, life would be boring if we ate the same meal, you know. Imagine you've got Jesus, you've got a next striker, you've got the luxury of, even if Arteta wants to, Kai Havertz and Trossard as false nines, as well as in other roles. As you said, Saka and Martinelli, let's throw a Pedro Neto or someone into that mix. Our centre mid sorted, we're dreaming. But right now we have to wake up and deal with what we have. It'd be great. It'd be absolutely great. DG, when you deep it, apart from Zubimendi, which other six is there in the market that's clear for us to get unless the scouts do a madness, which is true. I see Zubimendi as that younger sort of Jorginho. I can't back Vlahovic at all. He really hasn't been great for Juventus at all. And obviously, he sort of dissed us a little bit when making his move. Hindsight is a B. Xhaka, Rice, and Odegaard would have absolutely cooked. I think if Arteta wanted, I don't even know if Kai Havertz would be here if Xhaka stayed, you know. It sounds mad and I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but I think Xhaka forced our hand, didn't he? I think it was a thing last summer. The summer before he left, he said, I want to cut. Arteta probably said, listen, give me one more year, you can cut. And I think that was always what's going to happen in hindsight, really, if I'm honest with you. I think Nelson goes in January, just a matter of how much. But the thing is, especially if we're not going to bring in another wide man, I'm not letting Nelson go, if I'm honest. Vlahovic did par us. And I do, you know, once you diss us, there's no point going back. But at the same time, does it feel like we might be cutting off our nose to spite our face? Because if he is legitimately interested, you know, if Arteta really does want him and did his due diligence, what could he bring to the table? Like, could we might as well let bygones be bygones. I sometimes always sit here and think, yeah, what would Arsenal look like had we have signed Mudryk, Rafinha, Vlahovic, Skolabek, Lissandro Martinez? And I only mention them because Arsenal are linked with players, but you can see with the credible journalists, there was a legitimate interest in them. Like, I don't know if we got Vlahovic, I think we would have still signed Jesus, but I don't know if we would have. If we signed Lissandro Martinez, the talk was about him playing as a left back, and he might not be as good on the ball as Zinchenko, but he's a lot stronger defensively. I don't know if we would have signed Zinchenko. Ollie Watkins, bro, he's about to get 150 bags a week at Aston Villa. Aston Villa not going to let him go in January. And as we all know, like we're saying with all these players, crazy. With Kai Havertz, I back him because you're an Arsenal player, but I'm not really moved. To be fair with you, I think in the last 3 games they've been somewhat positive from Kai Havertz. I think he was a quote unquote best player at West Ham, which is saying something. Who did we play after that? I think Newcastle was nothing to shout about, but I think he tried something. Yesterday, I think everybody was good, but it is another case where you look at that game. I just think everybody was on another level. Like, I think Kai did very well, but I just think Kai's here based on that game we played yesterday. Kai's here. Jorginho, Declan Rice, Saliba, Saka, Martinelli, Trossard, I just want it to be the Havertz show, man, really. But I do see a little bit of confidence being installed. I mean, that header he missed was poor. It was a poor attempt at a header. I do like the confidence that he took an effort from long range. And I can't read too much into training. I don't know how he is as a person, but as just an honest Arsenal fan who watches the YouTube training videos and all those things, sometimes you see how, and he's a professional footballer, a German international, really, so you should be able to do it. But you see him doing these cute little flicks and these ambitious kind of passes, and I always think, Why don't you try that at the Emirates? I know people will get onto you if you make a mistake, but and this is just my opinion. I just think to a degree, I think Havertz has the confidence of his teammates. I think he has it from the manager. I think the fans are doing their best to positively critique him, but also get by him. But I think he needs to instill that confidence in himself. Like, I just think he's too scared to make mistakes. Havertz is destined to fail at Arsenal. They expect him to be Kaka. He needs time. I believe he can come good, but I'm not seeing it yet. But even the come good thing, like, how far does it go? Nelson has to stay perfect rotation player. At some point, I think he has to stay for now, but at some point, Nelson's either got to pull down some trees or pull up trees, better yet, or you're going to stagnate because you're not playing. Whether you rate Eddie or not, Eddie's gone from being on the peripheral of things. There was a time Nelson, Smith Rowe, and Eddie Nketiah were really, they were at the club, but they weren't. Smith Rowe had a season where he was playing week in, week out, and he's found a role for himself. Eddie Nketiah, whether you like it or not, at times this season has been one of our best players and is actually now our first or second choice striker. He's firmly a rotation option. Reece Nelson, you're a bit of a cult hero based on last year. You're a decent player. You've looked good, but you're not really someone that is pulling up any trees, really. And we all know on both sides, no one can take Martinelli's spot, but it's really that everyone's fighting for one position. Saka, that right wing is Saka's. Arteta has shown he don't care if Saka is getting kicks and that. You better stay on that pitch. Yesterday, we was all begging him to take him off. I hope Saka was lying and he's becoming a demon and he's pretending to be injured to come off. But yeah, he really ain't like that low-key good player, but that's it in my opinion. Hear that. Even with Vlahovic, for every rumor we hear, Arsenal tried to get him, but we also heard rumors he made it clear that I want to go to Juventus. So it did feel like Arsenal are bidding for Toney for no reason, really and truly. He's not interested. Vlahovic, Partey swap. I mean, Juventus, if you want to take him, great, but the man's not fit. But we don't know the thinking behind the signing, so it's very hard to judge. There you have it, really. With me, with Kai Havertz, if it wasn't 70 million, if we signed like other options in midfield as well as him, I'd be all for it. But the problem is, Mikel Arteta, as much as I like you, you're doing the captain saver whole thing. The stuff I say about Kai Havertz, if you was an 18, 19-year-old lad coming out from the academy or we bought you from a foreign country, I'd give you time. I look at Kai Havertz at the point of joining this club in the same way I looked at Jesus, Zinchenko, Odegaard. You've been on the scene for a while. You've got a wealth of experience. You tie into our project and your senior leaders. Havertz needs his hand held too much in an Arsenal shirt. And what are you? Are you a midfielder, left-sided 8? Are you a 10? Are you a striker? You can do a bit of it, and we need versatility. But what are you? You compare that with the numerous players that can play one or, well, anything from 2 to 3 roles at Arsenal Football Club. We all know, where they play and where they excel and what else they could do. So it is what it is, man. I hope there's light at the end of the tunnel with Havertz. I hope this is just a difficult 4, 5, 6 months in a 4 or 5 year contract, but I can't see it. I always give the example, like, in the summer, I know Raya isn't confirming anything to all Arsenal fans, but I understood the rhetoric behind Raya. That was your first choice. It makes us stronger with him and Ramsdale. At a point, someone's got to lose, but I'm here for that. Timber, you see what he brings. Declan Rice, you see what he brings. Where it came to Kai Havertz, it was more for me. I'm not really behind this Arteta. It's giving me shades of Willian. Like, it just feels like it's not going to bang from the start, but you know more about football than me. I like all your other signings, and I think you've shown an element, whether it was bringing in Ramsdale and Benjamin White or Granit Xhaka, people that weren't necessarily, the fans weren't convinced, and you've proved it right. You've proved us wrong, and you've proved yourself right. So it's more of a case of I'm trusting in you, Mikel Arteta, but it's a bit like I'm driving down a dark road. None of the lights on my car is turning on. The sat-nav isn't working. My phone's on 10%. Mikel Arteta is saying, just keep going straight. Everywhere looks the same. He's like, you're going to see a light. I'm driving for time. I don't see no light. So I'm trusting in that. But I just can't see it. I hope it works, man. And the reason I hope it works beyond the obvious is there's no get out. Fabio Vieira, if he doesn't bang at Arsenal, he spent 20, 30 million quid. You can kind of get away with that. 65 odd. We helped Chelsea. Yeah, he's won the Champions League, but they only took a £5 million hit on Kai Havertz if they did buy him for 70 million, and he won them the champs. So you probably say, you know what, it is what it is. Ramsdale needs to start the next Champions League game, respect what he's done for us. I hear it, but how many games have we played in the champs now? 4, and there's 2 left. I'd understand if Mikel Arteta goes strong, because we only need a point, but we can't be complacent. So if the strongest team goes out there, we win that, and then the next game you play, do your thing. Leverkusen comp sold Arteta dreams, because that Havertz would have been perfect for what Arteta is trying to do. I see the vision, but he's not the same player anymore. And I'm not being funny. Havertz got a wealth of experience, German international, played hella times in the Prem. So as much as I'm cutting him excuses, and I do agree with what people are saying, he needs time and all of this jazz, how far really does that go, boys and girls? really, how far does that go? And even us Arsenal fans, like even me, like I do think he's being scapegoated at times. I do think he's done all right, but let's be honest, the bar is on the floor for Kai Havertz. Odegaard seems not himself at late. I mean, yesterday was the first time Saka, you could argue, is Saka over his, well, to be honest, he got injured again, but in hindsight, but Saka looked fully fit. Like, so has Odegaard been carrying something? Because for me, the last international break, when Odegaard came back, he weren't really doing he weren't really the same. If we paid 30 million for Havertz, would people be saying, what are they? I think they would to a degree, but obviously there'd be less pressure. And what didn't help Havertz, on top of what we've seen of him, what we've seen in an Arsenal shirt of him, are concerns, is obviously he's an ex-Chelsea lad. You already start on zero. You know, Jorginho, a lot of people were up in arms. A lot of people still up in arms. They're all up in arms. People allow Jorginho now because he showed you've got a role to play in some way. Kai hasn't done that this moment. Fabio over Kai all the way. In terms of what I want to see on the pitch, yeah, Fabio, but I think Kai gets stuck in a lot more, and it's both like they're both kind of in the same realm in their Arsenal career. In that, obviously, Fabio Vieira has shown a lot more quality in the final third than that, but in a sense of you look good 1, 2, 3 games, and it's kind of back to zero. Nobody's kind of grabbed one of those vacant midfield roles. I thought Smith Rowe would get his opportunity. Unfortunately, he's injured. They're all burnt out, in my opinion. Outside looking, we look a bit tired. Well, hey, we're going to have to recover quickly. This is where we wanted to be, man. This is the territory. You've got 2 games a week. Typically, games are coming every 3 days. It takes anything from 24 to 48 hours to recover. We're still in 3 of the 4 competitions. You know, the FA Cups to come at the start of the year, next year. So, boy, and, you know, you look at the World Cup last year for some of these players and the condensed fixture calendar list that they're coming into. This is the world these men want to be in. As Arteta said, you've got to be ready to play every 3 days, 2 games a week, or twice every 10 days. You've got to be able to play 60 or on an extreme one, anything from 50 to 70 games. It comes with the territory, man. To be honest, Havertz looks lost in Arteta's system. I disagree, I disagree. I think Havertz fits in. He doesn't stand out. I don't think he's shown any individual quality, but I think he's shown a willingness to muck in. I think he's shown a willingness to, provide a physical outlet, make fouls, all of that stuff that I shouldn't be praising any player for. He should be doing it anyways. I just don't think I've seen any different quality. Like, all of these guys that we've got, if you told me that's a Champions League winner, I'd probably look at Fabio Vieira before him because I can't see it really. And as I said, we're getting into dangerous territory if we're praising a midfielder for putting in the shift, for working hard, for making tackles. Like, I like Kai, but at the same time, I like my club more. And I'm not trying to make this about Kai Havertz, but if you can genuinely sit here as an Arsenal fan and say you've been moved by Kai Havertz, anything he's done in an Arsenal shirt, I think you're a liar. I know some people have compared him to Berbatov and Ozil. I don't buy that because his work rate's probably higher than both of theirs, but he can't talk to any of them when it comes to football, really. We still need 6 players, in my opinion. Left wing, right wing, striker, 2 centre mids, left back. I would like another versatile defender. If someone can play fullback and centre half, that'd be great. I don't think we need a left wing and a right wing. If we could have got a Pedro Neto, who's shown this year he can play on the left and obviously can play on the right, I'm cool with that. I agree with 2 central midfielders, and I think every Arsenal fan wants a striker. DG Havertz ain't getting 2 goals from now till Jan, and that ain't asking much. Can we just get a goal from open play first things first? Right, Burnley not as physical, so it would be good to see Fabio back in the starting lineup. Obviously, company has changed the way they play, but those sort of muscle memory core components of Burnley, they're still going to have an aspect of that, really. We should be beating Burnley respectfully. Like, we need to be wiping the floor with them. I know Arteta, 2 City group managers, we might make it a harder game than it needs to be to kind of respect company. IC3 manager as well. You always want to see them do well, but we need to be moving to him. Every bit of frustration that we have from that Newcastle game needs to be taken out on Burnley, and we're at home as well. Let's have 2 great games this week. Go into the international break, take a breather, consider where we are, what we've done good and bad at this moment in the season. And then, boy, after the international break, boy, from now to the end of the year, going into January, it's some tough games. I know you can't look beyond any other team, but when I keep saying that, all I think is Liverpool 23rd at Anfield. So I need to stand up to be counted. Havertz been decent recently, but still Chelsea robbed us. Chelsea didn't rob us. We robbed ourselves. Chelsea couldn't believe it. We robbed ourselves. United robbed themselves for Mason Mount. We robbed ourselves slightly. City bumped themselves for Kovacic. But I would have preferred Kovacic. Now, again, I hope to be proven wrong, but I just think there's what Kovacic is. Kovacic and Jorginho / Declan Rice. For me, that looks like a better variety than Havertz at this moment. I think pushing Zini in the centre mid role and get a decent left back or stick with Tommy for a bit until Timber returns. I think there's games for Zinchenko to play fullback and do his thing, but we need to be better and stronger 1v1. That's where I agree with the Timbers, the Tommy Assis, etc. I think Zini's got a role to play with his versatility, man. Zini, Rice, Odegaard would be good midfield. He plays there for Ukraine. Didn't Zinchenko move into midfield towards the end of the game? Yesterday. Why is it more of a risk going with Vlahovic than Toney or Ollie Watkins? Really, they're all a risk because we don't know if they're going to bang. Ivan Toney, we don't know if he can make the step up. Ollie Watkins, we don't know if he can make the step up. Vlahovic, I don't know if he can play Premier League football. They're all a relative risk. Out of all of them, the wickedest thing is out of all three of them, the less riskiest one, I think, for us is Ivan Toney. But if it's up to me, I go Vlahovic, you know. And then I think Ivan Toney and Watkins are kind of in the same realm. I think Ivan Toney fits everything I want from a striker, especially in this Arteta system. And I just like the way Ollie Watkins plays. My kind of striker. He works hard. He works the channels. He's good, man. Like, I wasn't rating Ollie Watkins at first, but in the last couple of years, I am, man. We robbed ourselves. Prem proven. There is also that aspect as well. But how far does Prem proven go? Because you could argue Kai Havertz is a Prem proven player, really. Pascal Gross would fit our system, if I'm honest. Yeah, he did. And Tommy is half decent at getting forward, but it's very, very hard. We are in a tight situation. I just think it's different games for different players, really. Do you think we will pay the money for Osimhen? I don't think so. But if we were to pay the money, it's a summer thing, really. Arteta expects Saka to be that Mo Salah type player that plays 70 games, no injuries. I mean, whatever Liverpool were giving him, you need to be giving Saka. Toney at 80 million worth. I mean, clearly Toney's not worth 80 million, but the price tag's gone crazy. At the end of the day, if he signs for the club and he does well, who cares, you know? Benjamin White at the time probably wasn't worth 50 million. Doesn't matter because he's done his job. Whatever you say about Ramsdale, he's done his job. You know, Declan Rice is a bit different because we could all see his quality, but that 105 million pounds looks very cheap, really. So, yeah, man. I mean, I don't mind Watkins or Toney. I wouldn't be against either one. And who knows, all of them, especially them, you know, Watkins and Toney, surely at a better team, respectfully to Brentford and Villa because they're doing well, but we create more. Do we really create more? I don't know, because I've done videos on it, but we should be on the front foot a lot more, score more goals and create a lot more, yeah? So surely they will get more goals to a degree, but there's levels to it. Havertz, don't get me started on that. But of course, there's levels to it. I'm just playing devil's advocate, my guy. I'm just saying. Wasn't Watkins at Brentford with Toney when they came up? I don't know if they were together, but Watkins has been at Brentford. Toney's been at Brentford. And Neil Maupay's been at Brentford. Brentford know how to source these little strikers. You're moving mad. We can't play Zinchenko left back against teams with a good enough attack to cause us problems, cost us last season. Do you know what the saddest thing is? You know, there's been numerous times this season where Zinchenko's not been good enough defensively, yeah? Chelsea, where he got hooked. Fulham towards the end. But I also think, especially in some of the big games, he's actually done well at fullback. But at the same time, it's about accepting a player for what he is. Like, again, I'm sure Zinchenko is working the man said it himself, I'm sure he's working very hard to improve defensively. But at his age and where you're at as a footballer, if you're a fullback and you're not a great 1v1 defensive fullback, you're never going to be. So to a degree, you know, he does need to improve that, but we might as well just accept him for what he is. You can do the inverted stuff when we're on the front foot. You can come on and help change games. There's games for you to get, but games where it's a dogfight out there, word to Matt Turner, the Timbers, the Tommy Asus. And one thing I think is sad with Zinchenko is teams target you. Like, any fullback here, as a Sunday League fullback, we've been here, it's peak. They just try and pop it over Zinchenko's head, really. And I just think at this moment in time, when we're going to have to persist with Jorginho, I think Tomiyasu has to play because I don't think you can have Jorginho and Zinchenko together because we're going to get caught in the transition. That kind of cost us against Chelsea to a slight degree. You think Tierney's future's done? Yeah, man. I would love to have kept Tierney, but he wants to play a lot more, man. So it's just not going to happen. Zinchenko is probably our best player technically. I just feel he lacks the physical side. Bit emotional as well. Is he our best player technically? Top three. I don't know, but I'd say between him, Odegaard, and Jesus, I don't know, man. I think they're all there, man. I'd love Tierney to have a future, but it's dead, man. I can't lie. People have been very harsh on Zinchenko lately because I think we do that thing where obviously Zinchenko was and City and Arsenal, there's a drop off, but you was a great player for City. You came in at times and helped them win a title, but we're trying to make you the main man. Jesus said the same. You're great for the squad, but we've tried to make you the main man. And I do think we do this thing where we take players that are good rotation options. We're trying to make them regulars. And to a degree, we're acting kind of surprised as to why they're good. They show their quality, but ultimately those moments, those fine margins that can get us to where we need to get to, they ultimately fall short. You need players that can put the ball in the channels. That ball from Jorginho is what we need to see from Arsenal players as it breaks down defenses completely. That goal was lovely, man. I know Benjamin White was involved, but I'm sure Declan Rice has picked the pocket of Lemena's. As you said there, Jorginho was, split them open there, really. Saka squared it for Trossard, and he scored a tap in. It was lovely training ground stuff. If Brentford lob us alone for Toney to the end of the season, they'll be my favourite team in the Prem. I mean, boy, in theory, they could lose 3 strikers. I think they're going to price Toney out of a move, but they've got Mbuemo and Wisa that are probably going to go off to play for their countries in January in the Africa Cup of Nations. If you sell Toney for 100 million, you're going to need to have dotted I's and crossed T's in these months that lead up to the January market to sign a new striker as a replacement. Or if you don't do that and you get 100 million, logically, if you just imagine, because you asked that you're Brentford, you sold Toney and them players have gone off and I've got a striker for you. I might have told you before, yeah, I'll do it for 30. It's like, raw, swear down, you sold him for 100 million. My assistant told you 30 million. What he meant to say was 52 million. That's what you're going to do. It's business at the end of the day, to a slight degree. As good as Zinchenko and Jesus are, big reason why we stepped up so much lately. There's a reason they ain't at City no more. I mean, Pep Guardiola's a madman. Throw Sterling in there as well. Don't just throw the Arsenal boys down there. A lot of guys at City used to rave about how good he was. The problem is too many people think real football is FC24. Carl, you ain't told lies, man. But that's the thing, man. Many people just look at football at face value. They don't understand the deeper inner workings, which you lot are following me, so you should be. But at the same time, they shouldn't have to. Football isn't always about that. More time, football's an escape for people. There's people who like football and love football. And then there's us in this chat who love football. Tini's solid, but he don't have the techers. Hopefully, he'll pick up some Spanish sauce when he comes back. That's the thing. I would have loved Tini to have been like Kirill. Yeah, Gaffer, you need me on the bench? Cool, I'll do that. There might be games you can help us see out games, but like you said, Tini's a traditional fullback where we're adding a bit of paprika in the mill now. Scott, he can't do that really. Tesco bag, Mr. Basic, lives for football. Tini's our guy, but the system has left him in the same way as it's left Ramsdale. Had Timber have been fit, some of the things we've said about these players that we've mentioned, we might have been saying about Zinchenko or Benjamin White if Timber locked down one of the spots. There's every reason as to why the fullbacks that are playing now could have been that. There's every reason to think it could have been Tomiyasu or Timber on either side. I miss Tierney as well, man, but it is what it is. Like, I think if we have to learn to get comfortable with difficult decisions. Like some of the guys that we love at this football club or fan favorites, is to get to where we want to go. They might not be here. They might be able to help us get top 4, but they might not be able to help us consistently stay there. They might be able to help us challenge for a title, but they might not be there to help us get there. And by God's grace, we win the title. We've won it, but there might be players there who are not good enough to help us win it again and again. And then obviously you win it. I would love to win the Champions League. Players that have helped us win the Prem, you might not be able to help us win the champs. Life is harsh, man. It's harsh. And unfortunately, Tini's picked up an injury as well. After having quite a decent period at Sociedad. I'd love to see Arsenal, Jesus and Toney with Cook, bro. Real talk. I love Jesus, though. I feel he's so underrated. They compared him to R9 in his younger years. I love Jesus. And I don't know why you don't score goals. I don't know what it is. You've got the ability to get 20, 30 goals all comps. I don't know, man. You got to have your Canus and Will Tools. And maybe if we got someone who's more of a proven goal scorer, weight could be lifted to a degree of Jesus's shoulders. That Jesus is a bit of a weird one in that the hard chances he makes look easy. The easy chances he makes look difficult. I don't know what's going on there, man. But with that being said, though, people, we've been here for just under an hour, a couple seconds over an hour. Let me leave you lot to enjoy your evening. If there's anything of note to discuss on Arsenal tomorrow, I will do a live stream. Head over to my YouTube community tab because I am recording with the different knock, and any topics you want us to cover, just simply comment them. Saturday, obviously, smash one love to whoever's done it already, but we're watching Burnley Arsenal together. Make sure you're there. And I did an edited piece out. People, I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro for you lot. These things, this little 11-minute video is long, so I appreciate it. You lot, you have watched it and have smashed the like button, and also vote for your guy on the footy blacklist as well. All you need to do is fill out all of these things and we can get some nominations, people. You will have to use my email. You can just type in anything there as well. And if possible, put ones to watch or media in it. So yeah, man, you lot, I appreciate you lot on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. But yeah, let me love and leave you lot, man. It's so I hate saying bye to you lot, but peace. All this talk about Zinchenko has made me think of a certain pullback.
Against this right back, Charlie.
There's always just that active red flag. Defenders, I think, it's like.